pretty straightforward. The only thing I would tell you guys is if you were drafting a civil rights litigation and you were using the federal constitution as your basis or the state constitution, I would tell you to swing for the fences. There's no page limits on complaints. You can make complaints that are hundreds of pages long and nobody can throw them out. And, you know, if you have a complaint under, you know, unlawful stop, unlawful seizure, 4th, 5th, and 6th, right? Due process, equal protection, right? Those are the 5 gold lines. But you might have a constitutional right to travel that's been impeded. You might have a free exercise right that's been impeded, right? Just the point simply being, you know, read the Constitution, think broadly, and don't be afraid. Don't feel like you have to just put in your 2 past claims in order to get into court. And there's 2 reasons for that. The first is you never know what's going to happen. You never know what judge is going to embrace, what they're going to decide is really awesome. And it opens up your fact window wider in that you can bring in more facts that can't get thrown out for being irrelevant to your case. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Number 5, get down to the meat. What does the statute in question say? The statute you're suing under, your marijuana statute, for example. What's the law say? You know, what does it actually allow individuals to do? And, you know, again, I don't have any great insight with regards to this. I assume you guys would read the law. But in SB 1070, one of our best bullets with regards to our SB 1070 lawsuit is that the law actually says in the preamble that the goal of the law is to make enforcement by attrition the policy of the state of Arizona. So it literally says we're trying to enforce immigration. It admits it, frankly. And so any defense that the police might have to say, well, this is really just like a civil order type law. It's not really immigration. It's more about controlling individuals who get processed. And our jails are overcrowded. And we want to make sure that the only people that we actually detain are individuals who are not going to go to immigration detention, because we can send them to federal jails right away, right? That's out the window. And they're clearly trying to go into enforcement. And, you know, that's valuable for us. Have you guys done federal regulations? CFR? No? No? I won't dwell on that. So, Congress passes a law. Well, the question, if you're writing them down, what do the regulations say? Congress passes a law, and they say, I'll go back to the U visa, which I started with. If you're here illegally, or legally, frankly, and you are the victim of a serious crime, and you help the police, you report it, you can get a visa. And that's it. I've literally summarized the U visa law. It's literally this long. Okay, and that's a law that Congress passed and the President signed. What happens is that law goes to USCIS, Immigration Services, and they promulgate, or they're supposed to promulgate all of these regulations to say what you have to do in order to get your visa. Because obviously you're not just going to show up and say, hey, everybody, here's my visa. You know what I mean? You have to fill out all these forms, and you have to get signatures, and you have to show this, that, and the other, where your birthday was, and just random stuff like that. And so they produce these regulations. And the U visa regulations are these tiny print, and they're like this long. This many pages, I'm sorry. Dozens of pages in tiny little print about everything you have to do in order to get a U visa. And there's 2 reasons to focus on regulations when you're doing civil rights litigation. The first is that can be your lawsuit. I mean, if the regulations don't match the statute, that's your lawsuit right there. And we bring that lawsuit all the time, because the government is terrible about making regulations, because they always want to make it worse for the immigrant. Every single regulation I've ever seen always makes it harder for an immigrant to get a visa than the actual statute does. So we bring out this lawsuit all the time. And the second reason it's really good is that the government doesn't have freedom to do whatever they want. The government has to do what they're told to do, right? And so if you can show that they're not obeying the regulations, that's another lawsuit. You don't even have to talk about the statute. You can just say, you know, government regulations require that individuals who submit petitions on this form are required to be given a visa. And they reject you because you got a fax copy. And you go back and you say, that's not what the regulations say. It doesn't say fax copy there. Boom, you win. Home free. And then I guess the last one, I feel like I'm losing you guys. Is it the right time? Is it a good time to bring your lawsuit? Do you have the public support that you need? And frankly, like, is the court gonna buy it? You know, we're living in an era right now where the Supreme Court is relatively conservative. and they're all about states' rights. And I would not be that surprised if the SB 1070 lawsuits that get to the Supreme Court, if there's a bad result, from where I'm standing, not for the Arizona police officer. But you have to be aware of that kind of stuff. Getting a bad decision can be 1,000 times worse than no decision at all, right? It's just something to be careful of. All right, so I have talked 45 minutes. I do have 5 other questions that are just more about working in the public interest, that don't really apply to civil liberties. If anybody wanted to leave, I would not be offended at all. If you want, I'm gonna stand here and talk about it, but I don't want anyone to feel like they're stuck here because I don't know how related this is to your class. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, how many people here are thinking about doing public interest work? Like, honestly, seriously. Wow, that's a lot. That's great. That's really great. These are, I just made these up. There's 5 questions that I would think you would want to talk to yourself about and have some sort of sense as to how you feel about these things before you decided, I'm going to do this. I'm going to dedicate my career to working for. The first question is, what's your thing, right? What floats your boat? What's the issue that gets you excited, that gets you out of bed? It might be, like if you got all indignant when I was talking passionately and effectively about the Swift rates case. Remember that? And you were all like, yes! Like, you might, civil liberties might be your thing. That might be your bag. You might like fighting against government intervention in civil life. I mean, that may be something that really gets you excited. You might be a gender person. You might think that it's gender issues that really get you going in the morning. Immigration might be your issue. Or, like the sort of generic human rights work, working for amnesty, individuals who are in prison wrongfully, that kind of stuff. Whatever it is, I mean, there's so many ways in which you can work for the poor. I just think you should, if you don't already, you may already know. You may be sitting there because I got my thing. But if you don't know what it is, you should think about that, because the fact of the matter is that jobs are jobs. Like, I'm a human rights attorney. Great, right? But it's still a job. I have a boss. I go to work. I sit at my desk all day. And if you're not really engaged in the topic, the work itself, I don't think, unless you get a particularly exceptional job, is not going to carry the day, right? Does that make sense? It'll get you through a year or two, but down the line, you're really going to have to say, and the thing is, it'll make you a better attorney, or if you don't go to law school, it'll make you a better advocate. Because you're more convincing when you believe it, right? Like standing up, like that was one of the big problems I had at my firm, because I kept having to stand up. I did a lot of litigation for the phone company, and I kept having to advocate on behalf of the phone company. Even though I thought I was right, I was like, keep some shit. And I can't imagine that didn't come through, right? Second question. Are you the type of person, generally in your life, who is very contentious? Do you like getting in arguments? Like you guys have dorms? Is this a dorm type place? Yeah, you stay up late arguing about whatever, right? Or are you the type of person who is more about building bridges and mending things? And the reason I say that is that being a lawyer it's a contentious job. Any lawyer fights pretty much all the time. That's what you do, And if you don't enjoy that, I don't want to say enjoy, but if you don't get a rush out of that, like you probably won't enjoy being a lawyer. Or there's things about being a lawyer how about this? There's things about being a lawyer that you definitely would not enjoy, right? If you're more the type of person that likes to come to agreements, work things out, figure crap out on the side, then I would like to think that you should think about doing different type of advocacy as opposed to litigation. There's so many ways in which you can change the world that don't involve suing people, right? We sued South the border fence down in Arizona. We got crushed, just crushed. We lost every single lawsuit we brought over and over and over again. And the closest we ever got to stopping the border fence was we had a lobbyist working in Washington, D.C. And he got this little rider attached to an omnibus budget bill that almost got signed, right? And that rider would have taken away the money. And the point is simply this, that sometimes the best thing you can do is be in Sacramento or be in Washington and be working for your thing, the thing you've decided you want to do, but doing it in a manner that doesn't involve suing people all the time.